welcome back for part 2 of this presentation. There is a part 1, so if you haven't seen that one yet, go check that one out before you continue. In October of 2016, just before SolarCity was bought by Tesla, Panasonic agreed to a partnership where Panasonic would move into Gigafactory 2 in Buffalo, New York, to produce PV cells and modules specifically for SolarCity, an agreement Tesla Energy carried with them after the acquisition, which was a condition of the partnership in the first place. Since 2017, Panasonic has been manufacturing solar cells for the SolarCity products at the Pt2 facility. That building, owned by the state of New York and leased to Tesla for a mere $1 per year, began construction in 2014 and went $209 million over budget to take $958.6 million in taxpayers' money to build. Originally, this building was built to suit Tesla's tech that they had acquired when they bought Solivo in 2014, which obviously would have been changed up when Panasonic, a 30-year industry leader, came on board. As Tesla solar sales continued to nosedive, Panasonic found themselves sitting on manufactured stockpiles of components that Tesla had no need for. The only way Panasonic could recover their expenses was to sell these components to other buyers, mainly in the Philippines, Japan, and Malaysia. For their part, Tesla was cutting their cost per panel by buying from Chinese suppliers instead of their declared partner. By February of 2020, Panasonic had had enough of the losses they were incurring due to this partnership, and announced that they were leaving Gigafactory 2 to wind down by May of 2020. When the state agreed to these building and equipment provisions under the Buffalo Billion program, it was in exchange for a guaranteed hiring commitment made by Musk and SolarCity. The agreement, as reported on Wikipedia, was for 3,000 people to be employed through this facility in Buffalo, with 5,000 jobs created statewide, resulting in $5 billion worth of economic activity. On the same entry page, Giga2 reports only 1,500 people working at the facility with no date reference, which is most likely from before Panasonic pulled their crews. If Musk is not honoring this hiring arrangement, Tesla will be required to pay a $41 million fine annually until that commitment is made good on. To add insult to injury for the taxpayers who aren't getting all the jobs they were promised, auditors in November of 2019 determined the building and equipment built to Tesla specs is currently worth no more than $75 million, a 92% loss to the state. As a result, Governor Cuomo is taking tremendous heat for the wasteful nature of this project. The wire fraud conspiracy conviction of his chief architect didn't help matters. And neither do reports that this entire project was a scam, orchestrated by Musk and the brothers Reeve to exploit Governor Cuomo. One more tangent while we're talking about Gigafactory 2, and this ties into another humanitarian crisis that Musk told the media he was going to fix, and this has to do with COVID-19. We're not going to get into all the stupid tweets Musk has made about the pandemic in general, that go back to at least March of 2020. We're only going to remind people about the promises that he made. All of Musk's collective stupidity ended up going into print on the New York Post article called "Musk is Tech Covidiot Number 1. That's in the New York Post, and it's a great article. As a result of these tweets, Musk was facing heavy backlash from the tweets on the disease and needed a quick PR spin to wind his way out of all the negative press, and it was handed to him on a silver platter by New York Mayor Bill de Blasio on March 19, 2020. New York was facing a critical shortage of invasive ventilators as ICU wards were getting overwhelmed with pandemic patients. The stated plan was that Musk would reopen his locked-down Gigafactory 2 in Buffalo to produce these much-needed medical-grade devices for COVID epicenters in New York and California to begin with. By April 5th, on Tesla's own YouTube channel, they were showcasing engineers that told the viewers they were developing a prototype ventilator out of excess Tesla car parts. The video has since been viewed over 3 million times with around 143,000 likes and 2,200 dislikes, indicating only about 1.5% of the people watching are aware that Tesla never actually delivered any of these units. Again, positive PR, without ever delivering on the promise. On March 31st, Musk tweeted that he had extra FDA-approved ventilators ready for distribution, and the media swooned again. The problem was they didn't bother to check at the time what ventilators Musk had actually delivered. What he actually delivered were 5-year-old, discontinued BiPAP machines from China that are used to treat nothing more than sleep apnea. He slapped a Tesla logo on the boxes and shipped those out thinking they were the same type of machine, but they're not even close. And that wasn't the promise he made New York and California in return for reopening his factory, which likely continued making components for Tesla instead. For those people, like Musk, who don't know the difference, a CPAP, BPAP, or BiPAP machine consists of a facial mask that applies either constant or bi-level pressure air to the user, and they are generally used for the treatment of sleep apnea. An invasive ventilator is just that, invasive, a machine that takes over breathing functions for critically ill patients that requires intubation right down the patient's windpipe to the top of their lungs. These two types of machines are nothing alike. Invasive ventilators start at about $35,000. A BiPAP machine runs a couple $100, and you can buy them on Amazon any day of the week. So, although Musk received non-stop positive news stories about how he was saving the world by supplying 1,200 ventilators, the machines he supplied were not the ones that were needed, and his alleged prototype running in the YouTube video was apparently never sent to production, because try as we might, we cannot find a single photo of an invasive ventilator built by Tesla or Musk, except from that video. In contrast, the vacuum billionaire Sir James Dyson designed a brand new ventilator in 10 days, and the British government quickly placed an order for 10,000 units. Those pictures are easy to find, even though thankfully in the end Britain was far less affected than the US was. When the 2016 sale of SolarCity to Tesla was concluded, the shareholders of SolarCity split the price tag that ranged from $2.6 to $2.8 billion, depending on who's reporting, and the numbers must not have been very easy to track. This article shows the offer at $2.6 billion, and this article shows the deal worth $2.8 billion. Not only were both articles posted on Reuters news service, they were both co-authored by Paul Liemert. But it was a never $2-point-something billion deal, because part of the acquisition was Tesla's assumption of SolarCity's debt, and according to the Buffalo News, that number was $3.4 billion on top of the purchase price. Musk, as a 22.2% owner of the company at the time, would have personally pocketed up to $621 million in this transaction, but shareholders were not paid in cash. They were paid in Tesla stock at a 9-to-1 ratio. With an adjusted share price of $37.73 at the closing on the day November 17th, that means Musk would have received about 16.5 million shares of his remaining publicly traded company. At their recent peak of $502.49 adjusted for the 5-way stock split in August of 2020, those shares Musk received are now worth around $8.3 billion for selling his Tesla shareholders a fake bill of goods in the solar shingles and an insolvent business model in SolarCity that was well on its way to bankruptcy. In doing so, he also saved a bunch of other people's asses from the fire by avoiding bankruptcy, including his two cousins, Peter and Lyndon Reeve, Antonio Gracias, who sat on the boards of Tesla, SpaceX, and SolarCity, and J.B. Straubel, who also sat on the boards of Tesla and SolarCity at the time of the transaction. Soon after the solar shingle presentation, thousands of customers who bought into the hype plunked down $1,000 deposits to get in early on this product. Musk used this apparent interest in the product line as further justification of the sale to the Tesla shareholders, since he could now show a ready base of customers to buy the very expensive installations, often running into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Of course, those clients were buying a product that did not and still does not exist, so those monies taken as deposits now have to be refunded by Tesla, who started mailing back checks in June of 2020 despite the release of version 3.0 in October of 2019. Not surprisingly, now that other shareholders know what they've bought, many have decided to take action, legal action, that could and should cost Musk his entire windfall. In fact, some shareholders didn't wait for the transaction to close before they filed suit against Musk for conflict of interest in fiduciary mismanagement. Between September 1, 2016 and October 5, 2016, even before Tesla bailed out Musk and his cousins at SolarCity, 7 shareholder lawsuits were filed in the Delaware Chancery Court regarding Musk's very obvious conflict of interest in this acquisition. The original plaintiffs included the City of Riviera Beach Police Pension Fund, the Arkansas Teacher Retirement System, Boston Retirement System, and several individuals. These claims have now been consolidated into a class action, where any injured party can now sign on, and the full list of current litigants is on file at plainsight.org under the search parameter fraud. That trial was set to begin in March of 2020, but the advent of COVID-19 halted trials by jury, and it has now been put over until March of 2021. Musk stands to personally lose billions in Tesla stock if he loses the case, which we have every expectation he will, since the fears of the complainants has been completely borne out. Musk had a responsibility to recuse himself completely from talks regarding the merger, which he swore he did, and then swore again that he did not, when he told the court, quote, "I needed to voice my opinion, obviously," end quote. Filings describe how Musk used Tesla to bail out SolarCity, himself and his family members. Emails from Musk himself demonstrate a ploy to use the non-functional solar tiles to entice the shareholders to vote in their favor, thereby protecting his interest and the investment his other company, SpaceX, had dumped into the failed solar startup. Again, SpaceX dumped $255 million of NASA's money into SolarCity buying bonds, and Tesla's shareholders unwittingly covered SpaceX's bad investment when they took over the debt SolarCity had racked up, a debt that would likely not have been recoverable if SolarCity had gone bankrupt, at a time when the future of SpaceX was also uncertain. You know who else bought up large chunks of those bonds? Musk, $75 million worth, and his cousins also bought a combined $38 million, for a total of over $100 million of the 2016 $124 million offering with a 6.5% guaranteed return in 18 months. Musk had to take out personal lines of credit to make that purchase, and he backed those personal lines of credit using his own Tesla stock. So when Tesla bought SolarCity, they also bought the debt SolarCity owed their own CEO, the guy who orchestrated the deal, and the former CEO and CTO of SolarCity, who had buried the company in debt. And the slimiest aspect of the bonds is that Tesla was apparently investigating avenues and loopholes to avoid paying the other bondholders in 2019. In 2017, Tesla unsurprisingly attempted to have this lawsuit dismissed, but that was unsuccessful, the court finding it conceivable in their February 2020 decision that Elon Musk, chairman and controlling stockholder of both companies, unduly influenced the board's decision, thereby enriching himself. 6 other officers at Tesla, including the current CEO of Tesla, Robin Denholm, Musk's brother Kimball, and Antonio Gracias, were also charged in the suit as being in a conflict of interest as either being beholden to Musk and or directly owning shares in SolarCity to the tune of $560 million. All other defendants have settled out of court to the tune of approximately $60 million in damages, with another $20 million awarded in legal fees. But Elon Musk has apparently dug in his heels on this case, which will be ruled on by Vice Chancellor Joseph Slights III, who is quite renowned for his rulings regarding corporate America. If he loses the case, it will cost him the shares he gained in the transaction at their current market value. The company Tesla paid over $6 billion for has been, by Musk's own hand, gutted, stripped, and relegated to the bottom of the review list for solar installations, installing a pittance worth of PV arrays annually compared to the company when it was at its prime. According to SolarReviews.com, the company currently enjoys a 1.64 star rating on a 5-star system, with 360 of the 463 reviews giving the company the lowest possible rating, and there's more being added every week. Not acting in Musk's favor, the same Vice Chancellor has already issued warnings to Musk about his use of social media, and Vice Chancellor Slights is also overseeing another case regarding Musk, this based on the ridiculous compensation package that Musk wrote into his own position at Tesla. The compensation package, described as eye-popping, compensates Musk up to $50 billion if the company hits certain landmarks. Tesla's shareholders, meanwhile, have never received any dividend of any kind, and the company's statement on dividends is that dividends are not now, nor will they be in the foreseeable future, part of the company's shareholder arrangement. This case was filed by shareholders in June of 2018. Slights denied this motion to dismiss as well in 2019, so Musk will go to trial for this in the June of 2021. As recently as last week, Musk was blasting these plaintiffs publicly. Given the demeanor of the presiding vice chancellor and the decorum expected in these court proceedings, that's not going to go over very well at all. Hopefully the plaintiffs are sharp enough to enter that rebuke into evidence. As a point of interest, as of May 2020, Tesla was party to over 700 lawsuits, including 38 securities actions filed against Tesla and or Musk. And in September 2018, the SEC filed securities fraud charges against Musk personally for what became known as his 420 tweet. To avoid a criminal trial and possible jail time, Musk agreed to paying a $40 million fine to remove himself from the position of chairman at Tesla for 3 years, to allow a panel of compliance officers to have oversight as to what he tweeted on his Twitter account, and to appoint 2 independent directors to the board of Tesla that were not beholden to Musk. When Musk breached the terms of this plea settlement, he was once again charged by the SEC, this time for breach of agreement and for contempt of court. And once again, jail time could have been on the table for Musk. So it would seem that Robin Denholm, Tesla's new chairman, who was also named in the SolarCity lawsuit and in the unjust enrichment proceedings, has done a poor job keeping her rogue CEO in check. If you've never heard that name before, you're not alone. Although Robin Denholm has been named in the press as chair of Tesla, Corporation Wiki lists her only as a director and only at Tesla Florida Inc. She doesn't appear on this database to be chair of Tesla Energy Operations Inc., or Tesla Motors Florida Inc., or Tesla Finance LLC, or Tesla Motors Nevada Inc., or Tesla Motors Leasing Inc., or Tesla Lease Trust, or any of the 100 other corporations, LLCs, and businesses who list 3500 Deer Park Road in Palo Alto, California as their company address. And what is located at that address? Tesla headquarters. If she's actually chair of Tesla, shouldn't her name be listed on every single one of these profiles? Or at least one of them? Also, of the 100 businesses listed at that address, there are 62 active companies with the word solar or energy in the company name. There are also 21 that are currently inactive. Many of these listed entities are competitors that SolarCity bought while going $3.4 billion into debt, and others seem to be shell companies with similar but not identical names. Maybe this has something to do with the operating expense budget SolarCity has of $1 billion. Now compare that number of companies to Tesla Energy's output. In Q2 2020, they reportedly installed a mere 27 megawatts worth of solar arrays, continuing their downward trend. According to Evergreen Solar, the average American home uses 11,000 kilowatt hours annually, requiring a 5 kilowatt array of 280 watt panels. So taking that number into account, it means on average, each of these solar companies located in Tesla headquarters installed only 87 residential systems over the course of the 3 months in that quarter. This is all that remains of the company that Musk made almost $10 billion to date from when he orchestrated the 2016 sale of SolarCity to Tesla. Every Tesla shareholder watching this video ought to be looking into joining that class action to make sure it is a success. In the Chancery Court of Delaware, this is Consolidated Action CA number 12711-VCS, Vice Chancellor Joseph Slights III presiding. These are some of the law firms representing clients in that action. And if you would like to follow the unjust enrichment proceedings that has named Musk and the board of Tesla as defendants, here is the case number and the law firms listed at courts.delaware.gov. It is action number 2018-0408-JRS. Here are 2 quotes that are only 3 years apart. The first one, that they, Tesla and SolarCity, are separate at all, despite similar origins and pursuit of the same overarching goal of sustainable energy, is largely an accident of history. That's according to Elon Musk in the Tesla Master Plan Part 2, found on Tesla.com, and dated July 20th of 2016. The second quote, at the time I thought it made strategic sense for Tesla and SolarCity to combine. Hindsight is 2020, and if I could wind back the clock, I would say probably would have let SolarCity execute by itself, would have let Tesla execute by itself. That quote is also from Elon Musk, but this is done in sworn deposition before Vice Chancellor Joseph Slights III, dated June 1, 2019. And if that doesn't give shareholders the fodder they need to win the case, consider this. According to the law site DelawareLitigation.com, quoting the opinion of Vice Chancellor Slights, Musk's failure to disclose material facts can negate ratification of the shareholder vote. Musk failed to disclose the financial state of the company, as Ernst & Young published in January of 2017 as being insolvent. And according to newly unsealed court documents reported on by legal site UtilityDive.com, Musk's own cousin, Lyndon Reeve, testified in his own settlement case that he personally, as CEO of SolarCity, told Musk in 2015 the company needed $300 million to stay afloat, right around the same time that SpaceX started doling out over $250 million buying SolarCity bonds. Now that the shareholders in the class action against Musk, and only Musk, have another year's worth of SolarCity failures to report in their filings, it seems pretty obvious which way this groundbreaking court is going to rule. This recap of the downfall of SolarCity seems to be timely, because as we were finalizing the content for this video, Electric reported that Tesla is now looking for new partners to install up to 1,000 roofs per week nationwide. And we're going to tell you straight up that according to SolarReview.com, there are literally hundreds of other solar companies out there with better ratings that don't have thousands of complaints against them, ranging from poor customer service to burning people's houses down. Ironically, the best rated supplier for panels and batteries on the same site is Panasonic, who just ended their collaboration with Tesla this spring. As for those new installations, it would appear that Tesla learned nothing from their previous foray into the residential market. See, the way SolarCity attracted so many installs and so much accompanying debt was they offered a no money down leasing option, then counted on that future income to secure more debt, but the income was never guaranteed. So what is Tesla Energy offering now to get their market share back? Well, they plan on renting out subscription systems for $50 per month. So they're doing the exact same thing again, expecting a different result. But this time, Musk won't be able to bail himself out using Tesla shareholders or NASA windfalls. We have all heard how Elon Musk is a self-made billionaire, a genius, a visionary. In fact, Elon fanboys will line up against anyone who shouts down their hero, blind to the fact that Elon got subsidized to the nuts by all levels of government through Tesla and SolarCity and SpaceX. So he's not a self-made billionaire at all. He was given $1 billion factory, rent-free. All he had to do was keep the machines running, and he couldn't even pull that off. Anybody given billions of dollars by the government could have done what Musk did, and probably would have done a better job of it. SolarCity is a prime example of what Musk is actually capable of. Hyping an ordinary company into the #1 spot with false promises, then plunging that company into billions of dollars in debt, then lying to his shareholders about every aspect of that company to save his own skin. That is who Elon Musk is. Not a genius, not a visionary. According to the legal cases against him, he is a self-enriching fraud whose houses of cards are propped up by a reputation he definitely does not deserve. As for SolarCity and Tesla Solar in particular, they had their day in the sun. But after years of losing market share to stronger competitors, thousands of unhappy customers, publicized fires, and ongoing lawsuits, they've pretty much had their lights knocked out. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of The Common Sense Skeptic, and continuing to support our efforts both on this channel and through our Patreon account. We look forward to reading your comments on our episodes, and we do our best to respond to your questions when you leave them below. Hit the like button, share with your friends, and subscribe, so you'll be the first to see when The Common Sense Skeptic returns.